Good afternoon, and welcome to Brunch and Budget on Bonfire Radio with your host, Pamela Capallet, a certified financial planner and accredited financial counselor here to help take the bite out of your budget, brunchandbudget.com. I'm your sound provider dialect, and here's your host, Pamela Capallet.
I just got that designation, everybody. Accredited financial counselor. It's new. We are here.
We are here
at the conference where you can get your accredited financial counselor designation.
This is not the only place to get it. It's
I
not like
know,
it's
but it was a
Bonnaroo,
nice
and this is
way
your
to
only
do
chance
it.
to see whoever. I don't know.
We are at the Association for Financial Counseling and Planning Education Conference in San Diego, where I did just get my accredited financial counselor designation.
Moments ago,
yesterday. And we are super excited. We have Summer Red, the Financial Literacy Program Manager of Rural Dynamics Incorporated, here with us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're excited. Okay, so one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you was because of your work with prisoners and refugees, with Native Americans, with individuals with disabilities. Just the range of populations that you work with is incredibly impressive, and you're doing a super fun session on storytelling and the effectiveness of storytelling when it comes to financial literacy. I feel like people don't really connect the two in a lot of ways, even though I feel like that financial literacy and people really understanding what it means to become financial literate is riddled with stories.
We do that.
We do?
We do. That's our whole. Remember, we have that whole thing where we teach credit, but credit score with me, it's dialect and his credit. We do. So I'm just saying. Well, yeah, not a lot of people do it.
Yes. So we are super excited to have you. So tell us more about Rural Dynamics, what services you offer, and how you got involved with it.
Rural Dynamics used to be called Credit Counseling Services of Montana.
Okay.
So we do consumer credit counseling, we do financial coaching, we do debt management plans. We also are the VITA provider, which is volunteer income tax assistance. So
yes.
Free income taxes. If you make, I believe it's about $54,000 or less a year throughout most of Montana and a good chunks of Idaho. We also have a AmeriCorps Vista program, so we focus on financial economic success. And we have financial education. That is me. And I do that throughout all of Montana and also on Native American reservations around the country.
Wow. So how did you get involved?
So I actually was in AmeriCorps Vista myself.
Oh, okay. So what is an AmeriCorps Vista?
AmeriCorps Vista, it's a form of national service. You are not quite a volunteer because you get a stipend, but you're not actually paid minimum wage, so you're not working either.
Oh, okay.
And it's sort of like the Peace Corps in the United States, and it's capacity building, and it is creating new programs, new capacity at nonprofits, so they can't afford someone to say write a financial literacy curriculum. They get a Vista who does that, and then they have a staff member who can teach it after the Vista's gone.
Oh, okay.
So I was a financial coordinator Vista in Oregon, and then I became a Vista leader for 2 years where I did financial education for my members. And in Montana, they actually had this big symposium for all of the national service members called Serve Montana Symposium. And I did a session there when I was a Vista leader, and they loved it, and they actually asked me to come back the next year to do 2 sessions.
Oh, wow.
And it's one of their most popular sessions. It's really great. We usually have like between 50 and 75 people between the two.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
And then so they were like, we need you.
Well, actually, at one of those, I just happened to sit down next to somebody who was trying to hire a financial literacy teacher at Rural Dynamics. So, they say a lot of success is luck. That was my luck.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
People love obscuring their luck and being like, well, that's where they create
really
the
hard.
narratives.
Yeah, exactly.
I worked really hard, and then I manifested this opportunity by asking for some woman to sit down next to me, and they did what I asked.
Well, and I'm really, really passionate about financial education, possibly obsessively so.
Yes.
And I think that translated because I don't think they ever actually advertised for that position. Once she found out I was really excited about it, she's like, oh, when is your service over?
Yes.
And it was like 6 months later, she's like, oh, well, I guess I'll get back to you. And, about 4 months later, after I was looking for other jobs, she did.
Wow.
And so, it worked out.
Oh, my gosh. So where did the passion from financial literacy come from? How did you get into this work?
The really funny thing is it was a fluke. I just wanted a new position. I would try to change careers. And so this is a Vista position that came up. I have a math degree. I thought it'd be a good fit.
Nice.
And
I have a literature degree, so I feel you.
I actually have one of those too.
That's awesome.
And a chemistry degree, because, why not?
Why not?
So
all the bases.
Right? Strictly speaking, the math and the chemistry are the same degree. But anyway, beside the point, My family is terrible with finances. They are just literally awful with it. So I never had any financial education growing up. I had to learn it all the hard way. 10 years ago, I was $10,000 in debt, and I was making about $20,000 a year.
Wow.
And so for me, learning it all the hard way was not the best way to actually learn financial education, but it made me really interested for myself personally. And then when I started teaching people, especially people who are really excited to learn, which AmeriCorps Vistas are usually deep in debt and recent college graduates.
Yep.
And so they're ready to learn.
Yeah.
And so it was just so much fun. And I actually went into that first training session. I was sick as a dog. My stepfather had been really ill, so I've been traveling back and forth. And I was tired. I was beat down. I thought, I don't want to do that. And at the end of the class, I'm like, I feel better than I have in a really long time because I just loved it.
Oh my gosh. What's your favorite part about it? What was that aha moment for you?
It's actually when people ask me questions. I am a little bit of a know-it-all. Okay, I'm a lot of a know-it-all. And so getting to everybody like, hey, how do student loans work? And I can explain that. And then I realized that 1 hour could change their life in ways that, a 7-week college course would not.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love college. I have multiple degrees.
Right.
I love math. I love all sorts of subjects. But there's no subject other than financial education where 8 hours can literally change the rest of your life forever.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, just to see that. And you see people do that over and over and over.
Absolutely.
So life-changing. So you're an accredited financial counselor.
I am.
And why was getting that designation important for you to have? So you already were teaching it. You were already learning the material. Why the AFC?
Rural Dynamics for about 10 years now has actually been helping Native Americans achieve their financial counseling certifications through AFCPE.
Oh, wow.
And I can't really teach something unless I've done it.
Right.
And the person who was teaching it left, and she was the person who was teaching it before I came on board.
Yeah.
I was a logical choice to teach it, but I had never done it before. And this was about February, and it was supposed to be taught in March. And I said, I can do that. And then I found out I can't do that. I actually had the hours, but it turns out 2 weeks was just way too short of a period of time to learn all the material and pass the exam. So I had to push it back till May. So I had about a month to get my certification, which was still difficult,
right?
But certainly a lot easier than 2 weeks.
Yes.
Because then I had to write the curriculum based on the
actual certification.
So, and I learned things that I'd never thought of before that are amazing. And like the revolving savings account. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah. I just learned about that.
Right? I love the revolving savings account. So the idea of a revolving savings account is instead of borrowing money with a credit card to pay for things like, say, tires, which you know are coming.
Right.
Or, your car insurance, which you know is coming. Instead, you start saving that money every month. And then when it comes, you borrow it from that savings account. And then you keep paying it back every month until it's paid off.
I love it.
Interest-free.
Right.
And you get to have everything paid off, and the stress is just gone then.
You just
know
you
have the money.
Be there.
Right.
Yeah. I love it. I love that strategy. Yes. I remember learning about that, and I was like, oh, of course, because I know that my car insurance is every 6 months, and you don't want to pay every month because it costs more to pay every single month. So why not pay yourself what you know is coming?
Absolutely.
I love that. Any other favorite strategies you remember learning?
Oh, that is absolutely my all-time favorite. But I also loved really everything I learned about retirement. Retirement's my personal passion area. So I loved learning the strategies like why Roth, and why Roth is something you want to do along with a traditional IRA. Because if you do them both, then when you get the best benefits of all your taxes. You don't have to worry about taxes if you're having a bad year because you can draw from your Roth. But your traditional is also there to help give you that tax break over time. Or marginal income taxes. I never really understood marginal income tax brackets, where what is your last dollar being taxed? Why is that important?
Yeah, yes.
And we are getting kind of into the weeds. But I just love this sort of stuff.
Weeds. Yes. No, this is so good. And for those of you who don't know what marginal income tax is, basically when you say I'm about to go into a new tax bracket, really what that means is the last bit of your dollars is about to go into a new tax bracket. The first about 10,000 of your dollars is taxed at the lowest tax rate, and then the next 20,000-ish of your dollars is taxed at the next tax rate, and on and on and on. And really, if you're making $80,000, $90,000 a year, if suddenly you get propelled into the next tax bracket, it's only that extra maybe $1,000, $2,000, whatever it is, that you're getting charged that extra tax on.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the things that people who don't have an understanding of how taxes work, they love to bemoan and be worried about, like, oh no, if I make this extra $5,000 or I get this raise, it's going to put me into a new tax bracket, and then, oh my God, what's going to happen? You'll be taxed at a higher rate only for the amount that you make more.
But, if you have the chance of taking that $5,000 next year, if it's a flexible form of income, that's the sort of thing you have to think about if you're on the edge. Right, exactly.
Yes, can you defer the income until next year and pay taxes later?
Or could you maybe take that extra money because you're going to be taxed more heavily and put more into retirement this year?
Right, put it into your 401k or traditional IRA. Dude, I love it. I'm nerding out right now with you. I totally feel that. So in terms of rural dynamics specifically and working with Native American populations, how do you have to approach financial literacy differently with them than sort of the average, I guess, white American population?
This is actually excellent timing. Traditionally, I approach all people the same with respect and responding to their needs, whatever needs they express to me. But I did just take OESTA's Building Native Community Financial Education certification class about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
If you ever go onto a reservation and there's anyone who is financially education certified, it is probably through OESTA with this certification. And it was amazing because they did an entire cultural element I'd never thought of before. A lot of Native Americans will come to a training and say, this is white man stuff. Why does this apply to me? So what this training does is it says, when our forefathers fished and didn't eat all the fish, but dried some of it, that was savings. They were saving for the future. So just because we now call it different things or now because it involves money does not mean it's something that's new to Native American culture. It's just a different way of thinking about it. I thought that was incredibly cool.
Cultural competency, man.
Yeah, and it turns out like the Northwest, whatever the bay is, where all of the traffic between Alaska and Canada hit the United States before it was the United States.
Okay, yeah.
They actually had several tribes there, and they actually created an entire credit system based on shells. They had a whole currency system.
And credit and debt.
Right, and absolutely. It was just really, really cool because you would, you'd expect the supplies to come or you're shipping the supplies up, but you haven't gotten paid yet because the supplies haven't arrived. So they'd just had this whole system with shells that was amazing. And so a lot of people think that Native American culture has no knowledge of money. They do. It's just sometimes it's a perception shift from what they're thinking it was to what it looks like in modern terms.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really usually the issue with cultural differences is that we have similar systems, we just call them different things.
Absolutely.
And those titles, those designations become of utmost importance, and I think they obscure the actual conversation that needs to be had.
Absolutely.
Right. So when you go back to the audience that you're teaching, how are you planning to integrate all of the things that you learned?
So this is going to be a very interesting question because usually when I go into reservations, it's either for a pre-existing class we have called Dollars and Cents.
Okay.
Or for credit counseling training. And for the credit counseling training, what I will probably do is incorporate some of the cultural aspects as in when you're working with your clients, here's tricks and tips you can use for how to talk about money.
Stories, yep.
Dollars and Cents is tougher because it's already 4 hours and it's hard to add more to my 4-hour class.
Yeah.
But I'm going to definitely think about it, and when I have a chance to talk with some actual Native Americans, I'd like to get their input, see what they want us to do.
Go to the source.
Right.
I love that. That's so awesome. All right, Dialect, you got a song for us?
Yeah, we can do some songs. I figured, we would start out ourselves in the Midwest because, it's a nice place to be, with a group called Isodynamics from Madison, Wisconsin. They've got a song called The Windows, and we'll be back in a minute. Lunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio.
Nature's violent wake-up call. A thunderous start to a chaotic day.
I used to look out my window to see the plants grow. Birds sing and blow, wonder what the ants know. I used to love the way the sun made the glass glow. New spring cats grow, that was in the past though. I used to look out my window to see the kids play. Shades up this way, everything was displayed. I didn't mind that the world could see me. The whites of their eyes on my nightstand freely. Then I decided that I'd close it a bit so some light could get in and I could see people out of it. But I didn't want the same people to see me inside. inside, behind the blinds, evil and freaky. The people speedy, eyes be judging me weekly. I had to board up my windows to be free, or feel free. Window closes, do you feel me? I couldn't let the world see the real me. Close the shutters as you shudder inside. Drop the curtains as you draw the line between freedom and privacy. People come ride with me, up to the door, don't come inside with me. I'd rather see you through a pane of glass. Maybe the pain will pass, and if it doesn't, this chain I'll grab and pull the blinds down. You can't come inside now, made up my mind now. This is how I hide now. I've been looking through your windows again, and I can't seem to find you. Someone has confined you, locked you in a prison. Now the voices kinda mind you. Safe from all the work, you let the medicine unwind you. I keep avoiding the light to escape through. Won't make a noise in the night when I take you. You'll fight when I make you. Your windows I will break through. I hate you, I love you, don't be scared, I'm gonna rape you. It's like a moth to the flame when your lights are on. It's like I'm coasting through this world, but the lights are on. Nobody's home to invite me in, and so I'm dead within. Watching you ride within a deadly grin creeping across my face. It's just the window, the wind blows. I watch the way your ribs grow as you sigh yourself to sleep within the bin. Oh, my dim soul returns to a state, a true akimbo. Close the shutters as you shudder inside. Drop the curtains as you draw the line between freedom and privacy. People come ride with me, up to the door, don't come inside with me. I'd rather see you through a pane of glass. Maybe the pain will pass, and if it doesn't, this chain I'll grab and pull the blinds down. You can't come inside now, made up my mind now. This is how I hide now.
Nature's violent wake-up call. A thunderous start to a chaotic day.
Investigators are trying to piece together what exactly happened. He was dragged inside, stabbed, or shot to death, and attacked. He says he doesn't know who could be a suspect. Who could be a suspect? Who could be a suspect? Authorities are digging for clues. Investigators are examining a gun found in a nearby yard. Police have released a composite sketch of a man who they say they believe was outside the home Thursday morning.
When we were at the door, we heard crying, and then we knocked the door, the guy opened, he started beating her up, and it was devastating. Okay, were you at her house when he started beating her? Yes, because I was so scared. That's when I got in the car, so my brother called 911, and I took off.
And we're back. Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radios. That was The Windows by Isodynamics.
Yes, and we are here recording live at the AFCPE conference in San Diego, California, with Summer Red of Rural Dynamics Incorporated, their financial literacy program manager, super nerding out.
She has
about
a
all
summery
finance stuff.
disposition and is wearing red. So if you're anywhere in the conference, she's visible.
Yes, exactly. I love it. So I want to get back to the basics because of the work that you do, and because I feel like a lot of our listeners really want to know where to start. And so if you are someone who needs to build their financial foundation, what should be the first thing that somebody does?
So the funny thing is, a lot of people ask me that, and they assume that it's figure out what my expenses are, or
Right,
figure
like,
out what
what's
my
my
income is.
budget?
The first thing you have to do in budgeting is figure out why you're budgeting.
Yes.
Because I'll tell you right now,
Word.
you are not going to budget because I told you to budget. You don't know who I am. You do not care about me. So the very first thing I actually do in all of my classes is we talk about goal setting. We talk about why are you here? What is your motivation? What is your vision for your future? Once you figure out what that is, that's what you're working towards. You are saving for that. You're creating your budget for that with that in mind.
What if you have a hard time coming up with what your goals are?
I actually have lots of activities to help with that, but I tell people to start with, think about a time in your future where everything is perfect, whatever that looks like to you.
That miracle question, as they call it
Yes.
in AFC.
And if that really struggle with that, then think about a time when you have $1 million, what would you do with it? That makes it a little bit more concrete. So if
okay.
you have a tough time with the generalization,
Right.
here's something concrete. Whatever you see, whatever you want to spend that $1 million on,
Yeah.
that is what you're working towards. Now, that's usually something big. I know for me, my financial vision is I want to retire someday with enough savings to live comfortably without stressing. So then you have to break that down into steps. So try to take it from the big vision into smaller steps until you have something concrete you can work towards. And this is where we can talk about SMART goals. You want it to be specific, something that's very clear, measurable, something you can track, so you want a number attached, something attainable, so realistic, something relevant, and relevant's kind of interesting. Some people make R realistic in SMART goals, but that's what attainable is.
Right.
I like relevant
Yeah.
because a lot of times people have goals that they think they should have, and then they make no progress on it, and they don't understand why. For me, it was to buy a
Yes.
house. For years and years and years, I saved to buy a house. You know how much I had saved up after 7
Nothing.
years? $300.
Oh,
Okay, because my car broke down. Well, there's that money.
Exactly.
right.
You know, then my computer broke. There's that money.
Right.
Right. But I just realized right now it's not relevant to me. I travel like 60, 70 days a year.
Oh,
I don't have
amazing.
time to take
Keep up
care
a
of a garden.
house.
Right. I don't have time to shovel the snow. So for me, a house is not relevant at this moment in my life.
Wow.
It's not a bad goal. It's
Yeah.
just not for me right now. And so if you're really struggling with a goal, maybe it's just not for now.
Right. Someone shoulded you into it.
Right.
Yeah, or,
Yeah.
or not for you entirely. I mean, you know,
it could be.
owning a home is often a time-related thing, but there are a number of goals that people tell you that you should be prepared for that maybe your lifestyle doesn't match up with.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I mean, we've talked about that with retirement on the show. Like you knowing that retirement is relevant to you is huge. I feel like a lot of the listeners and a lot of people we talk to think like, I don't even know if I want to.
Yeah, they're gonna have to drag this mic out of my hand.
I will be honest though, my mom always said she was going to work till she died, and she retired at 62. So it's one of those things where it's better to plan and not need than to need and not have. So the other thing, T
Yes.
in SMART is for time bound. One of my favorite quotes is, goals are dreams with deadlines. And I always like to add, if you don't have a deadline, it's probably just a dream.
Word. Yep.
Right.
Yep. If you don't put a date on it, then it might never happen. It most
Exactly.
likely will never happen.
Like buying a house.
yeah. You're like someday, eventually.
Yes. When it's time, and then
Yes.
it's never time.
Well, and that's the thing. You don't have a date for it, and that's why you're going to put only a couple of bucks here and there to it. But then once you put something to it and make it real, make it part of your
Right.
plans, yeah.
Well, because then you can actually like put a small bite-sized dollar value by working backwards, right? If you're like,
Right.
I want
Exactly,
this in
yeah.
3 years, what does that actually mean? Like when you look at the monthly number, can you actually afford that?
Right. And that's another reason why our measurable goals are helpful. Because
yes.
if you guys say buy a house, well, there's no measure to that. There's no
Yeah,
way
what
to track
does that mean?
progress. But if you said, I'm going to save $10,000 for down payment, I guarantee if I save $5,000 and my car broke down, I'd find another way to pay for that darn car.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, because I'm halfway to my goal.
Yeah, you don't
I'm
want
not
to
gonna
touch
go
that.
back.
Oh, that's
right?
great.
That's so true. Yeah, you're like, wait, that was for that. No. Revolving savings.
Right, exactly. Or emergency savings. It
Yes,
is for
or
that.
emergency savings.
Yep.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that. About the different, because we talked about revolving. You just mentioned emergency.
Or
How-
opportunity savings, as we often like to call it.
Opportunity savings, as we like to call it as well. So, one of the stats that we've been hearing a lot lately is that the average emergency is $400, and 1 out of 2 Americans cannot cover that emergency. It would destroy their budget, essentially. So, how do you talk to clients about saving, especially if they've never successfully done it before?
So I will say, financial experts recommend ideally 6 months worth of expenses
Which
for
sounds
savings.
insane for a lot of
Right.
people.
And
Yeah.
I honestly recognize I am never going to start a class by saying, here's how much you need in savings. What I tell people is start with 1 paycheck's worth. Because they had a glitch in England sometime last year, and everything I was supposed to process on Friday processed on Monday, and people were in danger of losing their homes. So they're going to get paid on Friday, and they're going to turn around and send out that mortgage payment.
Wow.
You do not want to be in a position where a 48-hour delay in getting paid means you could be homeless.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I really recommend try to have at least 1 paycheck's worth of money in savings, so build up to that. Once you've reached that,
That's a great goal.
think in terms of months of expenses. So try to have at least 1 month's worth of expenses in savings. So if you lost your job, you'd have 60 days to turn around and find another job. And then once you've reached that, shoot for 3 months. That gives you a little bit more time to find a job. And then eventually 6 months. And when you're looking at 6 months worth of savings, 6 months worth of expenses and savings, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So consider maybe putting money into, like, say, a 6-month CD. And then you'd have every month you'd renew 1 month's worth. And so then if you lost your job, every month you'd have a CD coming up, so at least you're getting a higher rate of return. So also it makes it harder to access that money
Right.
for things that are not emergencies.
Right. That's one of the bigger benefits of CDs, I think. Because
I
I know
mean-
that the interest rates are kind of close to savings accounts right now because we're in a low interest rate environment.
But you know that's one of the best arguments I've heard
Yeah.
for a CD since they came
Yeah.
out with Blu-rays.
Nice. I love it. No, and I think that for a lot of people, I'm glad you brought up the behavioral part of it, because I think that's a huge part of it, is like knowing that you actually can't touch the money is worth more than like 1% savings or whatever you're getting, whatever small amount of money you'd be getting anyway, right? It's like,
Right.
actually, the money in there is more important to me than whatever like little piddly amount that I might be getting.
Well, peace of mind and being able to know where your finances are going are not only better for your health, but we found it actually ends up being better for your bottom line because you make better decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. Got it. Okay, so we want to get to 6 months savings. Now, what about for someone who is living paycheck to paycheck and feels like, I don't even have enough money to cover my bills right now? Then you're telling me about revolving savings, and then I
Right.
have to have another savings account on top of it, and now we're going to put me money in CDs. Like, what?
So here's the thing. I work with a lot of people who are very low income, and I acknowledge there are people right now in their life who literally cannot save.
Yeah.
But I would suggest this. If your car breaks down and you're low income, you find a way to pay for that.
That's
You know?
true.
And so I'm not saying that you've got tons and tons and tons of room in your budget, but there must be something, because when emergencies come up, you cover them somehow. So think about how you cover them, and is there any way you can space that out so that's less stressful, it's less coming up right in the moment? And see if there's some way you can help. Maybe even find a bank that does one of those savings plans where you put money away
Right.
for Christmas.
Ah,
Or a
Christmas
credit builder
clubs,
loan,
yeah.
which a lot of CDFIs and credit unions will have these credit builder loans. You're building credit by putting money away each month as a loan payment, and then you get the money back at the end.
Ooh, and
So-
a CDFI is?
Oh, CDFI is a community development financial institution. It's like credit unions or nonprofit banks.
Yeah.
These are like even more nonprofit.
Wow.
So Rural Dynamics actually has one. And so,
Yeah.
for example, we have loans for assistive technology if you have a disability. And we're so nonprofit that if it's $1,500 or less, we don't even charge fees or interest or anything. It's just,
Oh, wow.
it's just
Real.
you have to pay it back, but
Right.
it's still
But you're
a
not
free
getting
loan.
charged for it to
Right.
borrow it.
And we actually do have credit builder loans that are also completely interest and fee free.
Wow, so they're called credit builder loans, which means your savings gets reported to the credit bureau.
So the way it works behind the scenes, it
Yeah.
is actually a loan. It's for people with usually bad credit. So
Right.
To make sure that's a low risk for the financial
Yeah.
institution, they don't give you the money. They put into a trust fund in your name. So you fill out a loan application.
Ah, okay.
They approve it because it's designed for people with lousy credit.
Right.
And then instead of giving the money to you, it goes into a trust fund. And then you make payments for a year. And then they report a year's worth of payments. And then they give you the money from the trust fund. And then you get it at the end.
Oh my God. And is there an income limit to being able to participate in the program?
I'm doing it right now. I even have good credit. I just wanted to see how it works.
Oh my
so
God, that's awesome.
All right.
Oh, that's so great.
I think
so
I
find a
finished in, like,
CDFI.
May.
I love it with a credit builder program. I love that because I feel like one of the things that we talked about in the last panel that we were in was this difference between income and wealth, right? And this idea of like, even if you're making good money, a lot of that income might be going to other expenses, other family members, other obligations that someone making the exact same amount of income might not have. And so building wealth, especially in populations of color, is really difficult. And so something like having access to something like this that's not based on income is incredible. Like to build your credit, to rebuild your credit.
Well, and hopefully you get into the habit of paying every month. And if you're really
Ooh.
thinking about it, then as soon as it's done, you keep paying it.
Right.
Right.
So
Just
you
pay it
keep
to
putting it into
yourself.
savings account. And if you're somebody who really struggles with savings, like I'll be honest, much of my family does, have maybe a savings account in a separate bank.
Yes.
Or most employers, they don't advertise this, but most employers are willing to split a paycheck between two different bank accounts. And so you can have them take money directly from your check into your
So you
savings
never
account.
see it,
So the money
literally.
is just like literally you don't ever see it.
I haven't heard of that. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you, employers who are down for that, because that seems like that would be a hassle.
Yeah, direct deposit, man.
And I can't speak obviously for every employer, but I know mine. I just asked and they said, "Oh yeah, we can do that," but it's not something they usually mention as a perk.
They don't. They
So
don't. You have to know.
you can always ask.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to ask.
That's the secret menu.
The secret menu, yeah.
Of
That's
HR.
the animal style HR.
Animal style savings.
Yes.
Animal style direct deposit. I love it. Oh man. So speaking of credit and debt, I feel like that a lot of people do feel overwhelmed with their credit and debt situation. It's part of their bills. It might be a huge part of their bills. How do you advise someone to kind of start getting out from under all of that?
So my mom has always said that she was going to be in debt until she died. And so about 5 or 6 years ago, when I started doing this, I learned about the snowball method. It's also called the power pay. You might have already told everybody about that. The way it works
Please
is...
tell us again.
And I like the
should all
power
hear it.
pay. It sounds like a lottery
that's,
thing.
That's the
right?
AFCPE version.
That's the official name of it.
Oh.
It sounds way better than Debt Snowball, like
But
way more exciting.
at the
Well,
same
way
time,
more in control.
well,
Yes,
true.
yes.
But I feel like snowball is more evocative and actually descriptive of what
Like
it actually
visually,
is.
yes.
Right?
True.
Literally.
So the way it works, and here's the most important step. When you create your budget, you decide how much you can afford to spend on debt. And that has to be at least all of your minimum payments.
Right.
Okay? And ideally a little bit more, but at least minimum payments. And then you will never, ever, ever spend less than that.
To pay off
That's
the debt.
the important thing.
Right.
Because what happens is, as you pay off debt, like credit card debt, your minimum payment gets smaller and smaller. And so people pay less and less.
Right, and
And
it
they're
never
still making
goes
no
away.
progress.
Yeah.
Right? So once you figured out your minimum amount
So
that you're
let's
going
say
to
it's
pay.
like $300. You're
Right.
like, I can afford
That's
$300
going to debt
every month.
Every month, no questions. Then you write a list of all your debts, how much you owe for each debt, and then you prioritize them. And the 3 common prioritizing methods are by the most important debt, so that's like your house, your car, things that are secured. Financial experts recommend by highest interest rate because you pay the least
Right.
amount then. And what I personally use is by the smallest debt. So that
Same.
keeps you motivated.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Pay off that credit card in 3 months.
And then you've made progress,
Yeah.
right? So then you write down each priority number next to all the debts. The highest priority debt gets any extra money you can toss towards it. As you pay that off, that entire payment amount, including the extra, goes to your next highest priority debt. So that maybe you started with a $25 extra payment to your $10 Visa bill.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was a $35 payment. Well, now you have $35 extra you can add to your next bill. That was say $50. And then you have $85 that you pay that off to your next debt. So you can see how the payment gets bigger and bigger. And my mom, who, she wasn't making bad money. She
Yeah.
just wasn't great at paying off debt.
Right. She
Also, I
just
hope she
assumes.
never ever listens to this podcast.
We won't send it to her.
So
We can make an edited mom version. We, just so you know, if you come on
Mom
Brunch and Budget
version.
podcast, we can edit the version that you want for your mom, so you can sound like however she brought up you to be. That's what we do for me every week.
Yes, exactly.
But she had enough money to be paying off her debts, but that's not how she really liked spending her money. So I
Right.
explained this method to her, and she really got into it. I don't know what she started with, but by the end, she was putting $2,000 a month
Oh my gosh.
towards her
Ooh.
debt.
Wow.
And so she was going to die in debt, she thought, and she had paid it off in like 6 years.
What?
And then I'm like, Mom, so you're going to start putting towards the house now, right? You think how fast you pay off the house? She's like, no, I think I want to retire. And she did.
She thought she was gonna not retire, work till she died, and have debt till she died, and neither of those things happened.
Well, she paid off the debt, and it's like, oh, I guess I can retire now.
Wow, so that's what was holding her back from retiring.
At 62,
Wow.
which is early,
62.
That's early. I mean, that's amazing.
without savings.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Well, hey, you know.
You
But
know,
no
baby
debt.
steps.
No debt.
I love it. That's cool. So the debt snowball method, amazing. Now, if someone were to say, all right, so the debt snowball method, but I can't afford anything, and now I'm like really going down the line of like the AFC stuff of like, I can't get out from under this. Someone comes to you and they're like, I can't. I truly can't.
So bankruptcy has a really bad reputation in the world, and that's one of the things I actually really learned from AFCPE is to demystify bankruptcy.
Yes.
I am not saying bankruptcy is the first or best option ever, but it is the right option for some, and it is not the end of the world. I actually have a coworker who went through bankruptcy twice, and her credit is actually not bad. She's still getting
Oh.
credit offers
Yeah.
pretty much all the time.
Thanks,
So-
credit card companies.
So keep in mind with bankruptcy and with credit in general, your credit score is usually based on the last 2 to 3 years of credit activity. So even though a bankruptcy is on your credit report for 10 years, it will not impact your credit equally for all 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
Also-
Okay, so the further away you are from it, the less it actually matters.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. And also keep in mind too, when you are getting credit, when you're asking somebody for credit, they consider 5 things. They call them the 5 C's of credit. Okay? Character is whether they trust you enough to pay them back. That's usually your credit score. Okay. Capacity is how much can you afford to pay back. That is your income. Capital is how much skin do you have in the game. How much money are you putting down? Character, capacity, capital. Conditions is where the economic conditions going on right now. And then collateral is it's a secured loan or not.
Right.
Okay. So all
good.
5 things are actually factors. So your credit might take a hit when you declare bankruptcy, but suddenly you have a lot more capacity because you have less debt.
Right.
So more of your income is
Right.
freed up. So there are people who declare bankruptcy and the next day they're getting credit card offers because
Of
suddenly
course.
they don't have $2,000 in debt
Right.
payments a month.
Clean slate. Oh, man.
Right.
Okay, so the 5 C's again are character, which is the credit score,
Right.
capacity,
Right.
collateral,
Right.
conditions.
Right.
What's the other
And
one?
capital.
And capital.
which
So,
is
like,
basically
how
your
much you
down
have.
payment. What's your skin in the
Your
game?
assets. Got you. Ooh, those are good. I love it. I'm still learning. So if you are someone who can't cover all of your bills, let's say, how do you recommend someone prioritize that?
Well, really, truly, you have to prioritize by what they can take away and what's most important to you. So same way with debt. Probably you want to prioritize shelter.
Okay, yeah. So make your mortgage payments or your rent payments.
Right.
No matter what.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And really, truly, for example, it is really expensive to live without refrigeration. Right. So you probably want to prioritize utility payments.
Okay, yep.
In fact, in general, you want to prioritize secured payments or things you're getting services for right now. I don't want credit card companies to shoot me, but there's very little that a credit card company can do to you if you don't pay except sue you, which is still awful.
Right.
And we can talk about that.
Don't get sued, y'all.
But really, truly, if you're sitting there looking at being homeless or paying your credit card bill or mortgaging your house to pay for credit cards,
Yeah.
you really had just taken something that was an asset, that was equity, that was secured, and you just lost it to pay an unsecured debt with limited
Right.
consequence.
And unsecured debt basically means, hey, there's nothing we can take away. We can yell at you a lot. Maybe we'll sue you in 5 years, but really
Well,
we can't do anything to you.
There's two types of debt. There's secured, that means it's backed by collateral, backed by something
house, a
that
car,
right,
yep.
something can take away if you don't pay. And unsecured is just backed by the faith that you'll pay it back. That's backed by your credit score.
Yep.
And
Ah, yes.
obviously, if you don't pay that, your credit score tanks, and that's also bad.
Yeah, it sucks.
But
You can
it's
still
better than
eat.
being homeless
Yes.
and not eating.
Right. Got you. Okay.
Right.
So prioritize things that can be taken away from you, or shelter, or like services
for living.
Yes, shelter, things you need for living. Got you. Okay. And then the other thing that I thought was really great about the AFC was this focus on increasing income. And is that a conversation that you have with clients as well?
I'll be honest, most of my clients are not in a position right now where income is something they either have at all or it's something that they have a lot of control
Oh,
over.
okay.
Also, on Native American reservations, the number of jobs they have are very, very limited. Most of them work for the tribal
Okay.
government, and there's only so many jobs there are out there.
Got you.
But obviously, I am always in favor of increasing income if you can. It's certainly, there's two ways of making your budget work. You can either cut expenses or you can increase income. Cutting expenses is easier,
Right.
but increasing income is probably happier inducing in the long run.
Yes.
So I am a big fan of side hustles, second jobs. I'm also a big fan of getting more education or applying for new jobs, moving up in the world, because really, truly, the only person who's going to fight for you is yourself.
Thank you.
So-
Yes. All right. On that note, dialect, let's go to a song.
Yeah, well, this is a funny thing because I normally am not looking too much into the artists that we're dealing with, but I decided to click on their website, and I got this artist, Fresh Tao, from St. Paul, Minnesota, and he's not only an MC, he is an advocate for the arts. He is the emeritus executive director of the Center for Hmong Arts. He's an artist, writer, and a life coach out of St. Paul, and he's got a song called Paperboy Mentality from his storytelling EP, because we're going to be getting into talking a little bit more about them stories, and we'll check you in a minute. Bunch of Budget, Bonfire Radio.
All right, check it out. Fresh Towel on the mic. We got DJ Short Round on the ones and twos behind the boards. The life of a paper boy. Yeah. Here's the daily routine. Get the paper, get the green. Way before the days he became a teenager. way before the days of mixtapes and pages. Back when the local arcade was the hangout, sweating and peddling on the paper route just to earn another buck. Living a kid's life's rough, but kids like us who fist fight punks give life 2 thumbs up and take a puff. Yeah, he's ready with the gloves on, prepared to do the work. Heavy load on the back, ready to spread the word. See, this kid weathers the storm, treks through the dirt. Rain, snow, or sunshine, it's really no concern. Back alleyways, he bikes on through the dark with his headphones on. He straight ignore the world. And to some, it's absurd, and to him, it's his purpose. Gotta do the work, yeah, he leaves it on your doorstep. Paperboy mentality, peddling half to sleep. Crack a dawn grinding, riding through the streets. Paperboy mentality, peddling half to sleep. Work hard for mines, can't take that from me. An early earning lad with a paperboy bag, strapped over his shoulder, 50 pounds on the back. Up early morning while everyone's still in bed. In the heat, in the blistering cold, earning his bread. Brought the latest scoop, newspaper, rubber banded. If it was raining, slipped it in a plastic bag. And deliveries right on time, right on point. The early morning bandit could not disappoint. The paperboy mentality, paperboy salary, fat shoelaces and backpack full of tapes. Broken Walkman with the volume maximized. He don't speak often and seldom cracks a smile. Grease the gears and pump the tires on the bike. See him in the mirror, he's a hard-working hustler with the money on his mind. Gotta keep grinding, gotta do the work and get to class on time. The paperboy mentality, peddling half asleep. Crack a dawn grinding, riding through the streets. Paperboy mentality, peddling half asleep. Work hard for mines, can't take that from me. He work hard and play hard up in the schoolyard with the whole crew who stay out after dark, who spar in the parking lot of Menominee Park. In the boombox, ATCQ bugging out. He leaving in a while, but for now they getting down. Out the morning, after howling in the evening. Circulate the wordplay, he back while you're sleeping. Hop the curbs for kicks, toss it on the porches. Growling at the dogs, stopping to smell the roses. The perfect sunrise, yeah, that's what gets him going. And he didn't get no allowance like most of them clowns did. 2-bedroom duplex with 4 hungry kids. Pass me downs and fingers pointed at him. Gotta do the work until the Grim Reaper visits. The paperboy mentality, peddling half asleep. Crack a dawn grinding, riding through the streets. Paperboy mentality, peddling half asleep. Work hard for mines, can't take that from me.
And we're back, Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio. That was Paperboy Mentality by Fresh Towel.
All right, and we are at the AFCPE conference in San Diego talking to Summer Red, the Financial Literacy Program Manager of Rural Dynamics Incorporated, dropping all of the knowledge on how to build a financial foundation, how to manage your credit, how to manage your debt, how to manage those bills, how to not feel overwhelmed about money. And you're here at AFCPE talking about effective teaching through storytelling. And I feel like this can apply to everyone. This can apply to you at your job. If you have to give a presentation, you have to talk to your boss. It can apply if you're an entrepreneur. It can apply if you're, self-employed, things like that. So how do you feel like storytelling really plays a role in financial literacy and in your program?
People have been teaching through stories for as long as people have been talking. Storytelling is the most ancient form of education. Before things were written down, kids were taught everything that was important through stories. And that's still true today. People learn best when they're learning something they need right in the moment. Well, I can tell you right now, usually people in my class are not right in the moment for anything. So a story can help put them in the moment. A story can help get them engaged and help keep them interested. And hopefully when they're more interested, they learn more.
Yeah, I love it. And so we were just talking during the song about, I wanted to know about some of your favorite client success stories. And one thing you said was like, well, I have a lot of tragic stories.
That's the real. That's what's going on.
That's the real. And I'm curious, actually, like, what kinds of stories do you tell your clients to kind of help get them in the right mindset?
Do you mean tragic stories to help them realize they need to make progress? Or do you mean happy stories to help them know that you can succeed?
I guess what are the stories
how do you know when's the right story to tell?
When I'm actually teaching, I usually tell stories based on an actual topic I'm teaching.
Okay.
So when I talk about SMART goals that are for relevant, I actually usually talk about my efforts to try to learn a foreign language. Because I've studied French, I've studied German, I studied Spanish, and you know how many words I speak of any of them? None. Okay, but I live in Great Falls, Montana. You know how many opportunities I have to speak French? None. I bet if I moved to France for a year, I learned French right quick.
Yeah.
So there's that. I have stories about my flip phone, which everybody laughs at, and about how much it costs. And How
It's
I
a really
initiate
funny
better deal.
flip phone. That's why they laugh at it.
Right? That's
Yes,
why.
I actually had one person say yesterday, "What is that?" It's
Were
like
they 12?
no. I'm hoping they're making a joke, but I guess I can't tell for sure. I will say, as someone with a flip phone, I can't use Uber or Lyft or the
Right.
AFCPE Symposium app, which is where all of the information for this symposium is. So stories can really effectively teach a topic. When I am trying to get people really engaged in what I'm teaching, I'll introduce a story, usually about my family, because stories are most effective when they're personal. So when I talk about Power Pay, I talk about my mom. You might have heard that earlier.
Yes.
When I talk about rebuilding credit, I usually talk about my sister. When I talk about how you can actually pay off debt and really finally make it, I usually talk about myself because I was in
Yeah.
really terrible debt. A lot of times I tell stories when I'm working with people who are trying to get certified as financial counselors. And then I often use really sad stories to help them figure out ways that a person can actually get out of that situation, or to maybe understand sometimes the best thing you can do is tell somebody the truth. The situation
Right.
sucks and there's no miracle that's going to fix it. And so maybe you have to change your expectations to something that's actually doable.
Right, right. Well, and I feel like that's the thing that, like, especially in a counseling position, a coaching position, a planner position, those are the hardest conversations to have. And to know how to do that in a way that still keeps them engaged and keeps them like ready to move forward, I
Right.
feel like is one of the hardest things.
And one of the toughest things is when somebody comes and says, I'm 59 and I haven't started saving at all for retirement. What can I do? And the first thing you have to say is, well, understand your retirement's not going to be like those commercials you see where people are jet setting off to Tahiti.
Yeah.
You know, you can have a comfortable retirement, but understand that because you're starting so late, you're not going to have the world's best retirement, but that doesn't mean you can't have a good retirement. You have to decide what's important to you. And the earlier you decide that, the better chance you have of making that happen.
Right, absolutely. It's like a reality check, but also like it's not over. So
Oh,
you're still gonna live your life.
Well,
you
and
know?
you got to live your life. There's this whole mentality that if you're not getting the best, that you're not getting anything. I think it's a thing
Yeah.
that works in pro sports. Like, yeah, if you didn't win the championship, you lost. But if we're not pro athletes, then maybe chill
It's
on
not a
that.
zero-sum solution here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So here's the thing. What do you guess my income was on average until this year? Every year of my life, all my working career, on average, what do you guess my income
Your
was?
income is? Well, you said you made like $20,000, so on average, 30, 40?
My average income until this year, based on Social Security, was $16,000 a year.
Wow.
And you know what? I've saved about $30,000 on retirement on that. It's not a ton,
Wow.
but little steps can make a
That's-
huge difference over time.
You made $16,000 a year until this year, and you have $30,000 saved for
Yes.
retirement.
Everybody in New York hates you.
Well, and the thing is, I realigned my expectations. When I realized I was at $10,000 in debt before I really started saving for retirement at all,
Right.
then I changed how I lived. I used to shop on Amazon all the time. I used to have a collection of 8,000 DVDs. I used to, go to movies or go out to eat several times a week.
Yeah.
And it's not that those things aren't fun things to do, but I realized they weren't critical to my enjoyment. So now I'll go out to eat with a friend as a treat. And because that's not really important to me. But I save my money and I travel. So I travel at the level I was traveling before.
Yeah.
And I realized that's where it's important for me to spend my money.
Yeah.
And so I am not saying not to have fun. I'm saying prioritize. Figure out what's most important to you. And for me, what's most important is to not be stressed about money. When I first moved to Montana the very first time, it was a 5-month road trip to get there because
Woo.
I'd realized Georgia wasn't working out for me and I wanted to find a place that I loved. And got to Montana. I literally drove across the border. I said, wow. And you have to understand the border between South Dakota and Montana is a pretty desolate place. And yet somehow
Wow.
the desolation of South Dakota was and the desolation of Montana was like, yeah.
Wow.
So I crossed the border and said,
cross that border.
this is great. I think I want to end up here. And so I get in, get settled. It costs my very last dollar. I managed to get a job within about a week. So I was like, okay, I got a paycheck coming. That's great. And I've been told by everybody on earth that Montana does not have a speed limit. Let me tell you right now, Montana has a speed
Who
limit.
told you that?
People who are wrong is who told me that.
It's somebody who gets kickbacks from the police.
Oh, man.
So there I was. I had an $80 speeding ticket.
Oh, jeez.
And I had no savings. And I didn't know how I was going to pay it. I gotta be honest, I don't remember how I paid it. I assume I didn't eat very much that month. But really, truly, that was for me my turning moment. It was, I did not want to be in a position in my life where $80, as much as I hate to spend on a speeding ticket, I did not want to have $80 be the end of my world.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
So, for me, that was the motivating factor to start savings. And stories like that can help keep people going. They recognize that those stories happen to them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and I feel like that I know that when clients come to me or when listeners are really like finally like listening on a regular basis, it's at the point where they're like, something happened and now I know that this needs to change and it can't keep going this way. And I feel like a lot of people kind of recognize that moment in their lives, and a lot of people haven't had it yet either. So how is there a way to accelerate that process?
Well, it depends. Some people are actually very savvy about this going in, either because their families were or they saw their families have a disaster.
So they were like, not me.
Yeah, right.
Got
I will
you.
say one of the things I do a lot in my classes is called the candy budget. And the way it works is you actually draw a job. The job is based on your income or your education level, because that's the
okay.
primary indicator for your income level.
Yep.
And they get paid in M&Ms. I'm sorry, in candy-coated chocolates.
Oh yes.
And then and
Non-branded candy-coated
Non-branded.
chocolates.
Right. And then they have a board, and on the board says, like, for example, a studio apartment costs 3 large M&Ms, 3 large candies. So you, but you know, 2-bedroom, 2-bath place costs 6 candies. And so you actually allocate all of your candies, and then life events happen. And the first one is usually your house burns down. Oh my God. So you get a shock right there in
Do
the
you
middle
have
of the game.
renter's insurance?
That is something you can buy. Most people don't, but it's available in the game. And so really, truly, it helps, again, put people in the moment to realize, hey, these things could happen. And it doesn't work for everybody, but some people will at the end of the class be like, wow, I'm going to start looking at my savings.
Wow.
And that's huge.
Yeah, that's, man. And do you get to eat the M&Ms? I mean,
yes, I don't put them back in the box because that's gross. So once they're out, once they touch the board, they never go back. They either have to eat them or throw them away.
I love that, though, because I feel like the other thing that people get stuck on is dollars, and they get stuck on the actual money part of it, when really it's just a representation of your work and energy in a lot of ways. So, like, when you have this, like, candy income and you see it being allocated in a different, which is like the shells that you were talking about earlier, right?
Absolutely.
I love that. I mean, we might steal that activity.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, again, like you're talking about, like, you know, how life is not zero sum like that.
Yeah.
And we get caught up on this. If I don't have all the money, then I don't have any money.
Right. Well, and to use candy, I feel like mentally takes people out of this idea of, like, this is my life. Where it's really like, let's see what would happen hypothetically.
Well, keeping up with the Joneses is one way they sell things. So you also have to step back from marketing and say, okay, you know, just because this fabulous looking couple on this fabulous looking commercial are having a fabulous time does not mean I need that to be happy. I'll be completely honest, I actually don't really like vacations on the beach. They're hot. They're kind of, you know, sandy and humid. And so, you know, I just keep reminding myself because it looks fabulous in that commercial. And I have to be like, no, wait, that's not me.
That's advertising.
Right.
That's
and
marketing.
so, and their whole job is to get you sucked in like that. So your job is to step back and know what you care about. And remember, too, things like when you're applying for a mortgage, your bank is going to offer you as much money as they're legally allowed to offer you.
Yep.
You have to decide for yourself what you can afford. Don't let other people dictate what you can afford. It's your life. It's your budget.
Yes. Thank you for saying that, because I feel like, especially when it comes to home buying, you're already going to be emotional about it. You've gotten to this point, and your bank tells you, like, oh, you can afford $100,000 more than you had budgeted for. Do it. Right?
Well, and of course, your realtor gets paid by commission. So no matter how wonderful they are, it's very hard for them to say, oh, you know what? You should just ignore that house. It's perfect for you and everything, but you can't afford it, so ignore it. I mean, last time I looked for a home, before I realized it wasn't for me, I was getting pressure into a lot of houses I couldn't afford.
Oh,
so,
my gosh.
Always pay attention, especially when you're dealing with anything involving looking at your finances, what the incentive is the person you're working with has.
Right.
Absolutely.
How are they getting paid, and how are they, like, you know, pushing you into that? I love it. So besides your mom, do you have, we're unfortunately running out of time, but if you do have any favorite client success stories from your time teaching?
I will say we had this one guy, he was actually pre-releaser, so he was transitioning out of prison, and he was a smooth character. He was a self-admitted con man, and he was going straight. And what he came in, he was very angry, and I get that. And his credit was ruined, because it often is when you're shipped off without being able to pay your bills.
Oh, wow.
And he came
Wait,
like,
hold on. Can we pause for a second? So when you go to prison, you still owe money for your bill.
Right.
I never even thought
Oh
about
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
No. Going to prison doesn't absolve you of anything.
I just never thought about that as an aspect. Like, of course you still have to pay your credit card debt. Anyway, continue. Like,
Yeah.
that's a whole
It's okay.
other kind of planning. Woo.
So he was very angry, and his credit was terrible.
Yeah.
And he walked away knowing at least the information he needed to improve his credit. And he walked away. He came in really angry, and he walked away a little bit less angry and with knowledge. And with knowledge
Yeah.
that could actually change his life. And that was huge.
Yeah, right, absolutely. It's like, I feel like that part of the frustration and the overwhelm comes from not even knowing what you don't know.
Exactly.
It's like, how do I even get out of the situation that I don't really know how I got into? Right? Or
Absolutely.
that I got into because it was out of my control.
And that's the part of the thing that makes you angry is it's out of your control. Here you are in pre-release. You don't even have control of your own budget.
Yeah.
And what can I do next? And the thing is, you're not in a hole you can't get out of.
Right.
Bad credit is absolutely something you can turn around within a year or two.
Right.
You just have to learn what you need to learn, and you need to start making some changes.
Well, and it doesn't define who you are as a person.
Absolutely. Although it does for insurance companies. So keep that in mind.
Hold on. Before we go, what do you mean?
Your insurance rates are based heavily on your credit score, often more heavily than on your driving history, for example.
Man. So y'all
What
are
a
getting
depressing
insurance.
point to end
I
on.
know, right? Well, that's the thing too. So basically, if you improve your credit, then you can also reduce your actual.
Absolutely. Your life is a lot cheaper with a better credit score. That is absolutely for sure.
Ooh.
But on the other side, here's a fact that that I can give is that when you give a hug, you're also getting a hug.
Also, excellent point.
Let's end on that. No, Summer, I want to hug you right
Oh,
now.
thank you.
Guys, we're hugging.
Yeah, we're making
We're
this up.
hugging.
It's a big, wonderful, loving hug session
Thank you
because that's what we need.
so much.
Oh.
Yes, a big, wonderful, loving hug session. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
So fantastic.
This is great. And we're going to end off, we were first couple of songs we were talking about the concepts that you were bringing up, and I figured we'd have a little more fun here at the end. We're going to Paris, France for Lexicon with his song Summer Rain.
Oh.
R-E-I-G-N. Like, summer
Cute.
raining over things because ain't too much rain going down in Montana. And we'll check you next week. Brunch Budget, Bonfire Radio. Peace.
Do it right, be that in depth. Cause when I'm right, there's a pencil in my left. I'm not the one shooting, but I'll still make you get down. Plus, I made you look, I was a rated book. Now a savvy vet reaching such great heights. Always worn up like I had an extra life. Keep my mind moving so I'm never uptight. So the songs that I write will be flying like a kite. Everybody seems whack now. Either that or in the clutch, y'all back down. But I can't say you're frontin' cause you ain't leading nothing. In fact, you're in the back like sexy blouse button. Oka Nick bussin' while C minus cutting. A potent combo like gin and Robitussin. What? We wash away the pain. Grab a hat, we about to unleash the summer rain. It's coming down. You pop the lock, I'll hop the gate. I'm hungry, dude, so pack the plate. Like the rap Bill Clinton, I'm so great, but they got leather and whips, yeah, they love to hate. Your S&M, SOBs better run flat if you tread on me better. Smoke something, get lifted. Put some joy in your life like gifted. I don't need your attention, I already got it. Looking at me like I'm the one that started. Happily, you know how it be. Your girl only likes you cause you look like me. I ain't a thief, all of this is mine, so just drop it. I'll pick it up in time. Ha! We wash away the pain, grab a hat, we about to unleash the summer rain, it's coming down. summer rain is coming down.